Miss Nikki in the house.
So we know what we're good at, but we know we're not good at. We spend all of our time.
My family know I've been married for 10 years. I have.
I had changed my life so much in such a short period of time.
I've been doing that for 18 to 19 years.
I'm one of those people who I think, I grew up
serving the majority, as far as I can remember, as a kid.
Hey everyone! Yes, I am Chandra, and
allow themselves to be free. Sometimes I do coaching and other things like that, but
dance was my life. Dance is what I knew. Dance is what I breathed.
I lost a lot of time with my daughter in that first year because
it was an amazing job for actors.
Welcome to Commit to Change. We are back with our Buti series. I am absolutely excited to have the founder and creator of Buti Yoga in the house. I want to introduce to you the lovely and amazing Bizzie Gold.
Thank you, Nikki. That's a big introduction. It was like my little shake.
So, of course, I have to first ask you, we all know that you started, did you start with Buti or?
Like just in business in
general? Business, yes.
So no, actually the very first business I owned was a PR firm.
Oh.
When I was 19.
Wow.
Yep. I had been in the PR field in LA really at the height of when they had started the gifting suite, which was basically like the first pass at celebrity seating. Now it's everywhere and it's kind of passe at this point, but when I was going into that arena it was brand new and I was working for somebody that was kind of the queen of the industry, and she had made some enemies in the industry, and some of her clientele came to me and said, we'd much rather work with you. And I ended up starting my own firm and basically did what she did for a few years until I eventually burnt myself out pretty badly, and that's where I really recommitted to my yoga practice. So it still led me back to my yoga practice, but I had success in the PR world before I started Buti.
Okay, and what was I guess that was your shift to create Buti, or was there a different shift that made you decide to start the Buti?
So the shift to create Buti, it wasn't even something that I really went out of my way to do. That shift was having a traumatic birth with my daughter and going through a series of practices to try to heal myself from that trauma, and eventually landing on Buti through a Native American medicine ceremony.
Oh wow. So for those of us in the audience that do not know what Buti means, could you explain to us what Buti is?
So Buti is an Indian Marathi word that means the cure to something that's been hidden away or kept secret. Many people don't understand that there's a variety of different dialects in India, and Marathi is one of the primary dialects. And I stumbled across the movement methodology when I was actually in the ceremony. I don't think I necessarily knew what it was until I started to apply it to my body and move it through my body and start to feel what it was doing for me. And obviously over time it's evolved and become something that it is today that you experience that takes time. But in those early moments, one of the nights I went to sleep, and in my sleep I saw very clearly that the practice was supposed to be named Buti, spelled B-U-T-I, but I didn't know what the word B-U-T-I meant. So I woke up and went on Google and just Googled like B-U-T-I. And the very first thing that came up on the first page was a term called Jadi Buti, J-A-D-I, Buti. And it was a term that was used in Ayurvedic herbs that meant a substance of the earth. Like Jadi usually refers to like an herb or of the garden that had a cure that was hidden beneath the surface or kept secret. And that was how they were referring to Ayurvedic herbs. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh my god, this is what I was seeing and this is why I was drawn to the word. But the interesting thing is that years later, when someone asked me about where I found the definition, when I went to go look for it on Google, you know how there's different search ranking pages? When I went to look for it years later, the same article that I found was like 10 to 15 pages deep, where I had to really go looking for it. It was hard to find. But that morning when I woke up and saw that, it was like right in front of me. So it was just meant for me to find it. And I honestly can't imagine the practice being named anything else. And in the process of building the practice, is specifically the name is something that I think has caused a lot of contention.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that there was a part of that contentious energy that was kind of like poking a bear that needed to be woken up. So I just went with it and trusted my intuition. I'm glad I did.
Yeah. Okay. So you made this a practice, but what made you decide to make it like global?
So I don't think I necessarily decided to make it global. It just, when you caretake a business and you have business acumen and you understand strategy and how to put all the moving pieces together, things grow.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think the brand speaks to so many people that are diverse across multi-cultures, multi-religious backgrounds, multi-political backgrounds, it has just reach inherently, because it's not like it has to speak to like only one type of person.
Mm-hmm.
So many women and men now are finding this practice and it's speaking to them because it's not specific. It's an energy that I feel like came to me and wanted to be brought through. And the practice of Buti, you can feel it when you see the women that, you know, even in the training that you're in,
Right.
there's a type of person that is attracted to this medicine that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't only vibe with one type of culture. It's everybody that's ready to wake up and be part of a collective and not just an individual on an island hating their life.
Right. So with Buti, you can get woke.
So woke.
So, okay.
So woke that some mornings you're like a war vet. You're like, fuck. Oh, this is so much responsibility. We had somebody that they went through Buti and break, and one day they looked at me in my kitchen and they were like, this woke life is exhausting. And it is exhausting. So if you're not ready for some serious responsibility,
Right.
stay away. You're not ready yet.
Okay, so now you talked about the practice, just kind of, it came to you as a healing process, and then it
For
just,
myself.
right, and then it built. Would you say that was your why? Because a lot of entrepreneurs have
Absolutely.
a why.
Yeah. So I think honestly my why, because when I first called it in, I really felt like, and I've talked about this on a few podcasts before, I felt like it was the medicine that I needed in that moment because I was really broken and I needed to be healed. So it was like a selfish, like, I need this for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Once I got myself through to a specific place where I had kind of gotten myself out of the pain, out of the trauma, made changes in my life, at that point then I realized, fuck, like if it's done this for me and I was that dark in a hole, it's my duty to then keep passing this on. So my why was really that I had changed my life so much in such a short period of time that my why was giving that to other people. Because if you, and it goes back again to this word Jadi Buti. The whole article was about how certain people were able to basically keep certain herbs, certain medicinal herbs hidden from the average person so that they couldn't heal themselves, so that they'd have to go to the medicine man. Which I think speaks to me so much with Buti, where it's like, you need to, the practice of Buti helps you find in yourself where your own cure is, where that one piece that kind of was stuck or wasn't quite fitting right, or where there was some sort of damage done that you keep pushing down and not wanting to look at. And the practice helps you find that cure within yourself because no one else is going to give it to you.
Right.
And I love that word Buti spoke so strongly about that aspect, because I'm not in the business of trying to like keep somebody else's magic away from them and be like, pay me, I'll give you your magic.
Right.
This process is about helping people find their own magic so that they can become their own caretaker. Like, it's not about you coming to me and me being on some like guru pedestal. I hate that. Everyone can do exactly what I've done with my life, and all I want is for this practice to basically throw you the keys to what's always been there. You just weren't able to find it in that moment. And I watch people find it all the time and change their lives.
How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like I've followed through on my responsibility. It's like almost like a child when it's just something where it's like, it's just your maternal duty. It's not like, everyone give me praise, pat me on the back. It's like, that's my fucking job.
Right.
And it feels like a sense of responsibility where it's just my job.
So how long has the organization been in operation?
So I taught my first Buti class in 2010. 2011 was where it became an actual like entity that was generating significant income. I started to have my first employees. Now it's 2018. We have about 15 full-time employees, a corporate office in Scottsdale. We also have a shipping and fulfillment center. Surprisingly, we sell a shitload of DVDs. I know everyone thinks the DVD industry is dead. It's not dead. In the fitness industry, it's not dead. And then we also just launched our clothing line, which is going to start to ship later this week. And then I'm kind of onto my own endeavors that are more personal to me. Instead of it being like the caretaker mama bear role, these are the things that like I know I'm meant to do here solo. And that's break method.
The break method. Well, before we go into the break method, I just want to ask you, you talked about your why when you first started. Over the duration of time that the business has been in operation, has your why changed? And if yes, what is it now?
So my why hasn't changed, but it's a double-edged sword because my why was so tied into responsibility. It's not like my why was like this passionate, like, oh, you know, like I'm just, every part about me is like creatively fed and all of this. It really was this kind of like soul level responsibility, which has stayed true. And there are points in time where it feels like it has some friction elements to it because it does feel like that mom role. Like if you were to think about it again in the context of being a mom, there's certain times where it's like you want to do you and you're like, fuck, I got these kids, man. These kids always want so much shit from me. They're taking all my money. They're taking all my energy. They're sick all the time. I gotta take them to the doctor. There's a lot of that energy that comes with the company, and there's 5,000 instructors, and with the instructors there's studio owners that facilitate those instructors, and we're constantly having trainings, and there's just a lot of management of the moving pieces that if I don't take care of those things, then the beautiful aspect of the gift doesn't get to keep getting passed on. So that's where like the responsibility, like I'm still in responsibility phase where I'm like, fuck. You know, just every day feels a little bit like, you know, we got to go to the dentist again. You chipped another tooth. Every day's a chipped tooth. And sometimes the chipped tooth is like, you know, a lawsuit or employees not getting all. There's always something, but what makes me keep going is that I see when I go from like country to country or state to state, I see how much this practice changes people's lives, and then it goes back to the responsibility thing. So my why hasn't changed. It's definitely still this like maternal responsibility. But I think it is shifting to a place where there are others that are kind of stepping in to facilitate some of the maternal responsibility so mama can have a break. Need a nanny.
Right. So because now it has grown so big, do you feel that it's maybe at any point or that it's losing the genuity of like the original?
No, in fact, because we've always treated it as this constantly evolving organism or its own energy, I feel like more and more it becomes even more authentic and honed in. I feel like the practice has only gotten better and stronger and has more of a collective voice, which is always what I wanted. Even in the beginning, you know, I'd have advisors that are like, we need all these pictures to be of you, and I'm like, I don't even want to be in the pictures, it's not about me.
Right.
And I really like fought against that hard. And also because I've been a psychic and intuitive since I was little, and I always knew like I could feel how much hateful energy would come at me being the person that was in the pictures, and I didn't want that. I also didn't want people to feel like the practice was limited just because I happened to be like a short blonde Jew with blue eyes, you know, like, and I always use the example, like, it's not like me, even though I'm a short blonde Jew, I wouldn't see a workout method with an Asian and be like, I obviously have to be Asian to do this workout.
Right.
Because that's just stupid.
Right.
But to some degree, people do that all the time. Like, if I don't look just like her, then this is not for me. That's asinine. You can't judge someone's movement methodology based just on how they can't help how they look. Just how, if you were to flip the table, no one can help how they look. It's just, I happen to have chosen this physical body in this moment for this incarnation on Earth right now. And I obviously chose it for a reason, and I'm sure there was a part of me that wanted to feel that contention to be able to fight through it as a soul to learn a lesson. I've learned the lesson. Stop fighting with me. Jesus Christ. I love everybody. Everybody. And I used to be a past life regression therapist, so everyone is entitled to their own belief system about, you know, God and spirituality and energy and all those, and I never try to impede on anybody else's belief system, but I've had enough personal experience tangibly for me to feel very clear on the fact that souls choose specific paths. So to think that somehow as a soul you like, for instance, you're always going to be black, that every lifetime you've ever been black, that's probably not true. How do we know that? It's not like you decide to stay in your same family lineage and like keep going into the DNA of your ancestors. That doesn't, in terms of past life regression and what we do know and have researched about the process of incarnation and DMT and our soul energy, the chances that that's happening are slim to none. We choose multiple different experiences so that we can really like expand our concept of what humanity means. So God only knows what I've been before. But I'm certain I haven't chosen every time to be a small blonde Jew. I'm certain of that. I am.
Okay. So, all right. So let's reverse back to when Buti was starting. What do you think was your biggest obstacle and how did you overcome it?
My biggest obstacle, especially in the beginning, has always been how to manage my sense of maternal responsibility to my child, which in the beginning I only had one child, and then my sense of responsibility and or commitment to making the business grow. In a lot of ways, it's the same type of energy, so it's almost like if the energy is going to one place, it gets kind of like sucked away from the other. And in the beginning of Buti, it was, you know, Sarai had been born with a lot of complications, had cerebral palsy, there were a lot of special needs there, and my husband at the time was going through a lot of emotional stuff as well and was battling bipolar disorder, so it was just, our home life was not stable. So to try to do all of that on top of having a really unstable home life was definitely my biggest challenge, but I stayed the course, and I'm sure at the time most people didn't understand why I was making this business a priority, but I knew that for the longevity of my child's future and my future, it was something that had to be prioritized in a timely fashion.
Wow. Now most people would, that would cripple them to have something, so much happening at one time. Like, what kept you, I mean, was it just the thought process that kept you going because you knew this is something you had to do, or was there anything in particular that...
So, and I talk about this sometimes in different lecture series that I've done, like you talk about like what's your why. I really believe that there has to be this intersection point of passion and purpose, where it's like I knew what the purpose was, like I felt it change me, and I knew that I had to keep moving that forward to help other people. And then the passion aspect to me came in the artistry of the movement. So it was really feeding me. Like I had grown up, I was always a dancer, I always was choreographing dances when I was little. So the passion for me came in the form of that like creativity and physical release through the practice. So because I had both of those, it allowed me to, especially the physical part of the practice, not just physical, but energetic part of the practice too, it helped me heal from a lot of the trauma that I was going through at home. So I would look forward to it. I would prioritize it. When things would be rocky, I'd be like, I have to get back to my practice. Like I would really prioritize it. So I think the intersection of those two made me just, you know, stay the course, because I kept my body physically healthy. I prioritized my food so that when things got rocky, I wasn't going into fight or flight. I was doing all the things to care for myself, knowing that things were rocky. So a lot of people make the mistake of letting things get rocky and then deprioritizing their health and wellness, so then their body's already hanging on by a thread, so then like one fight happens at home and they're like, you know, a puddle on the floor. I was always prioritizing health and wellness so that when those things would happen, I could stay strong and focused and logical.
Now you see that's a reoccurring theme about keeping your health in order to keep your mind right, to keep focused and continuing what you're doing. So who would
and that's usually the first thing to go for people.
Yes, I know that, because then they have that excuse of, oh, I don't feel like it. I have
a theory on this that I'd like to share.
Yes, please share.
I think the number one thing that keeps people from genuinely prioritizing their physical, energetic health and wellness is questioning their purpose as a human being. I think it comes to a bigger esoteric question. If you kind of question, like, why am I here? What am I even doing here? Do I even have a purpose? Like, as a human being, it becomes really hard to prioritize goals for the self because you're not even really sure what you're doing or why you're here.
Right.
Once you start to do some of that exploration, you're like, wow, I'm a soul. I have a serious fucking purpose. Then it becomes a non-negotiable that you're trying to keep your soul and body vital so that you can follow through on your mission. It's like all of a sudden realizing that your whole life's mission was like encoded on a cereal box, and then all of a sudden you're like, I fucking got the code, I can read it. And then after you figure it out, you're like, okay, well, like obviously it's not an option to not be healthy because I've got some serious shit to do.
Right. So who would you say was your biggest supporter throughout all of that?
Sarai.
Wow.
You've gotten to spend a few days with her. She's a magical little creature. Sarai's my daughter. Anytime things would get hard for me, I'd feel like quitting, she would be my biggest fan. She loves Buti. She loves getting to go to training. She loves break. She loves getting to be part of this experience. And whenever I'm sad, she'll look at me and be like, I'm so proud of you. Like, Buti's so cool. And I'm like, you know what? It is really cool. And thank you.
Awesome.
She always gives me the big boost.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, I gotta move on to the next question. Oh, well, you kind of answered the next question, which is how do you feel like you're adding value to the community? But now it's a global thing. So, would you say that, like, what type of value would you say that you are adding?
I got it.
Okay.
I think what Buti specifically is so good at doing is when we have some sort of brokenness inside of ourselves, we tend to look for opportunities to play out our childhood wounds with people around us. Once we start to do some of that internal healing, which I know you've seen in the Buti classroom, once you start to heal yourself, you start to look at people around you often for the first time with this love and acceptance where, like, even Crystal was saying it the other day, like, there are many instances in which people that first go to Buti classes have never enjoyed being in the presence of other women and have always been kind of jealous and catty and just never trusted them. And then suddenly after your first Buti class, you're like, I love you and I don't even know why. It's because there's internal healing going on. So the thing that I think Buti adds on to the community, and I think it's just the community at large, it heals you so that you genuinely look at the people around you with a different, more loving, accepting outlook, and you desire to bring people into the fold instead of to always assume the worst in people.
Right.
You start to see that you see the brokenness and you see how quickly it can be healed, and you want to bring people into the fold to help facilitate the healing instead of just to assume that everybody's out to get you.
Right.
And even if somebody is out to get you, likely once you've gone through Buti, you still want to be like, I love you anyways. I love, despite that dick comment, I still want to invite you to a Buti class.
Yes, that's very true. So, wow. Okay. So, where do you see yourself and Buti in the next 3 to 5 years?
So I have something very specific that I plan to do with Buti, and I've talked about it before, but I've been in the process of growing the company to a place where we can actually take the company public so that everybody that practices can actually own a part of the company, because I don't want to own it myself.
Okay.
I want everybody else to own it. But to get it to that place, there's certain steps and protocols and like the legal system that have to be put into place. But I'm actively putting those things into place because I think this practice needs to be owned by its participants and not by me.
That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. Wow, she's doing things. She's gonna follow this lady.
And I want to focus on break and keep teaching that, because that's something that I know my soul is here to do, and I needed Buti to heal myself to tap into what I was supposed to do, which I think happens for a lot of people. You start practicing Buti and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, I got the keys. Buti was a part of my healing path, and I'm grateful for it, and I love it and will always caretake it. But it was a step on my path. It's not my path. I think it's a step on all of our paths to like basically course correct and get back to what we were supposed to be doing. So I know that my thing that I'm supposed to be doing is break.
So you brought up break, which I'm glad that you did. Please explain to our audience, what is break?
Break, in its simplest terms, right now is an online program that takes anywhere from 3 to 4 months. It's relatively self-paced, but it has accountability built in, so there's a pace to it that is meant to help you figure out where your emotional addictions have come from in childhood, where those initial wounds were, how you currently play them out in your present life, how they're affecting how you're viewing your future, how they're affecting parenting, and how to rewire your brain to actually starve off the emotional addiction so that you can actually start to live your life in a more authentically emotional way instead of just having autopiloted responses.
Absolutely. That is something that is definitely need to live your life consciously every day.
Yes,
so,
it's all about
yes.
making it conscious.
Yes.
We always say live your life by design, not default, and so many people just have these default autopilot responses where they're not thinking about it until they're experiencing pain, and then they're like, oh, I fucked up. But you can teach yourself to be aware enough in the process of thinking and living and speaking that you can realize as it's about to come out, you're like, oh, nope, there's that thing that I do. That results in pain 2 weeks later. I'm gonna not do that. So yes, it's all about consciousness.
Yes. No. So how would you measure success? And then how would you fall
like
into
me
that?
Personally?
Yes, because everyone has their own level of what they consider as successful. So how do you measure it, and where do you fall in that line?
That's a great question. I personally would measure success based on not having to stress about like basic survival needs and finances for my kids. So like once that baseline is met and things after that feel like they have some free flow, I would measure it with that mixed with quality time spent with my kids and not always having to stress about other things, like having my life set up in a way that I can be mentally present with my kids when I'm with them and get to spend good quality time, and getting to really pursue my passions and not always be married to some sort of like cleanup and legal grind. And right now I would say I'm closer than ever to what I would perceive as success, but I'm not quite there yet.
Still working on it. That's okay. So
I had this woman, this woman that was trying to tell me, I had some yogi on Instagram came at me with some stuff, we'll say. I defended myself and it ended up turning out great, but this woman came in that was part of a group that this woman was trying to claim I somehow make feel not included, which there's no way that's possible. This is this woman's personal vendetta, and I think she was trying to build up social media following. But a woman that was very much a part of said group came to me and she was just like, listen honey, every level has a new devil, and that was just today's devil. But she was like, you're killing the game, gave me a big high five, a big hug.
We know a lot of kids or just people in general, they look at celebrities, and I consider you a celebrity.
Thank you.
Yeah. And just people in general with money, because I'm assuming you're making a little bit more than lunch money with your business, I'm sure, or gas money.
Every level a new devil.
Right. So my question to you is more money, more problems, right? But most people, when they look at like rappers and things like that, they'll look at the external things that they're buying with their money. So I have a question. With the money that you have brought in, of course I know you're reinvested into your business.
Businesses, yeah.
But my question to you is, are you a person that invests in other investments, guilty pleasures, or charity?
I would say all of the above.
Okay.
One thing I've always, and it's perhaps something that I learned just through childhood, but I definitely in a lot of ways like live below my means.
Okay.
Because I don't think it's necessarily in like a fear-based kind of way, but I like to have a nest egg where it's like, if everything were to go away tomorrow, is this something that I can make into something else? I think of it almost as like a clay medium, right? Like I like to keep enough of my clay, so it's like, can I sculpt some shit out of this,
Okay.
So I definitely live below my means in that way to try to constantly create this like nest egg that should something happen, I can do the next thing. I definitely like to invest in other people and do so frequently. I do a lot of consulting, and a lot of times I'll invest in my clients that I'm doing consulting. If I vibe with them and what they're doing, I'll invest in their program or whatever their business is. I definitely invest a ton back into the business. That's how I own 100% of our businesses. It's pretty rare to be at our stage of growth with a single owner that has taken on no actual investors.
Wow.
We took on angel investment and have paid everything off as of this year. So I own 100% of everything, which again, that takes that reinvesting of capital. And we run a lot of charity programs, especially with Break. I do a lot of charity and make sure we always have scholarships. And my big plan with Break is to be able to do Break programs in person in on Native American reservations and in, you know, inner city areas where people really need the tools to be able to navigate their way out.
Right. Okay.
So those are kind of my primary things, but I am a sucker for a really good restaurant and nice hotels. Those are the things that I spend money on. It's like if I'm gonna do something, I want to stay in a really nice hotel. But yeah, those are the things I spend money on, like sushi and hotels.
Oh, I love sushi.
I love sushi too. So does Sarai.
Oh, nice. I knew there was something.
So it's all the things.
So can you share with our audience maybe your favorite charity? So you would be nice to donate yourself.
So I guess, and this is something that I've had going for a while, I guess I've always been like inherently a little mistrusting of certain charity organizations, like the actual organizations themselves. So I'll use the example of when I was in college. When I was in college, I had a career where I made a lot of cash. Okay. And every Friday, I would find homeless people. I always had $500 of cash that I was going to give out every Friday. And I would find people that I had seen. I would strike up conversations, get to know them. And before they even knew that I was going to give them cash, I would like get to know, like, why are you here? What would help you get out? And I would always pick one person to give at least $500 to, if not like two people to split it up. And I never would see those people ever again, which showed me that I was trying to select people where I was like, this is going to actually make a difference. And that if I don't see them again, it means that they use that money to like do the thing that they wanted to do or haven't been able to do. So I've always been more like, I'd rather be charitable in like my time.
Right.
Like something where I know I can see it through to the end and show up and invest in somebody else and help the person or a specific community. I also have donated to some like special needs funds because of Sarai. And then also the big contributor for me is always like domestic abuse shelters. That's domestic and sexual abuse. Those are usually the first places that my money goes. But most recently, I used to live on the Big Island in Hawaii that's had the lava flow, and we've done a few donation-based classes and raised a few $1,000s for the community in Pahoa on the Big Island.
That's awesome. So you see selfless service. It doesn't always have to be just an organization. Go out, do the work.
Yeah, do it. Volunteer.
Yeah.
You learn so much in that process. And I've passed that gift on to my daughter. We'll be, you know, in the car in Arizona, there's a lot of homeless people, especially on like intersections and stuff, and she'll, in the beginning, she would see them and start crying, and I'm like, hey, don't just sit there and cry. Like, do you want to get out and, like, can we talk to some people? And we'll do the same thing. We'll talk to them. Sarai will, like, give them hugs, and we'll give them cash. I'd much rather help a person that I've spoken to and I understand them, and I, like, can actually contribute in real time to them making their lives better. Instead of an organization that's probably skimming off the top, paying people to run the company. Like, it just...
Right.
I'd rather my money or effort or energy to go right to source.
Right. Understood. All right, so it's time for lightning round.
Okay, do it.
So I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You can answer them short and sweet. What initially held you back from making Buti a company?
Time and responsibility, yeah.
What is the best advice you've ever received?
From my dad. I was definitely going through like a codependent phase with boys in my high school career, and my dad was like, God damn it, Elizabeth, like if I see you throwing your life away for one more boy, I'm gonna lose my goddamn mind. And he said, I need you to pick a place to go on vacation by yourself. And he said, when you can spend a week by yourself and not need to talk to anybody or engage with anybody else, and you can truly be your own best friend, then you can start dating people again. I did it. It worked. I'm my own best friend. I don't need nobody.
That's awesome. Okay.
Good daddy advice.
Yes. Share a personal habit that contributes to your success.
Not fucking around with my diet. Ever. And I hope we're allowed to swear on this, because I've done it a few
you
times.
are now. That's all
It
right.
already
Hey.
happened. Yeah, how I eat is non-negotiable. It really impacts my mental state, how my anxiety kicks in, all those things. And you saw me when I first got here. For a few days, I was like starving, and I had to eat a couple of things that I know my body doesn't digest well, and it just sends me for an emotional loop. So it's just non-negotiable.
Okay. What book would you recommend to our audience and why?
Ooh, well, it depends on what people like, but I would highly recommend the book Keepers of the Garden by Delores Cannon. It's available on audiobook. Interestingly enough, it is one of the earlier books that she ever wrote, and she was actually my teacher for past life regression therapy. She's since passed. I read all of her other books and then only found Keepers of the Garden about 2 years ago, and I'm so glad that I read it 2 years ago, because it talks a lot about the work that I do. And had I read it earlier, it's almost like it would have like influenced me in a weird way, but because I never read it, it's like now it's just kind of like an echo of like, yeah, you're doing the stuff that you were supposed to be doing. So it's an amazing book, mind-blowing.
Yeah, timing is everything. All right, final lightning round question. If you found out that you had 1 hour left to live and you were given the opportunity to share one final message, what would it be?
Very clearly that there's more to life than just this physical plane and this physical body, and that when we get so bogged down with the problems of the physical, we often completely lose sight of why our soul is here, and we miss the opportunity to help shift the world as a collective to a better place. And I really believe that's why we're all here.
Wow. So please tell our audience, what tips would you share with someone who is sitting on the fence of their dreams?
That the only difference between somebody that is by you labeled a success or a failure is that the person that you would label as a success never labeled obstacles as failures. So many people bump into things and they're like, I'm a failure, I can't do it, and they're very quick to like hit a little speed bump and quit. Somebody that's successful has hit multiple speed bumps, sometimes fucking mountains, and instead of being like, I'm a failure or it's over, they let that hit motivate them to figure out a new way to get around it. So just get out there and do it. You're gonna hit speed bumps. Let the speed bumps propel you to think in new ways or reignite your passion to jump even higher, go around it. If you want something, there's no better time than the present. What actually is there to lose?
Wow, awesome. So it is that time, unfortunately. I have to tell you, first you have to share the answer. Where can they find you? I mean, I know you could Google her and she'll be the first to pop up, but please tell us where we can find you.
If you go to bizziegold.com, BIZZIEGOLD.com, that's kind of like my main website where you can find out about all things Buti, break, and all the rest of it. But also go to butiyoga.com, BUTIYOGA.com, and then break method is exactly how it sounds, breakmethod.com.
Awesome. I have to tell you, it was an honor and a pleasure to interview you. Yay!
You're
Thank you so
a fantastic
much.
Interviewer,
Please.
You can travel with me anytime.
Oh, yay! So we have to say goodbye to our fantabulous guest. So please give her a warm, wherever you are, a warm round of applause and a thank you, Mrs. Bizzie Gold. Love you too.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Bye, guys. See you soon.
Bye.